We are living in extraordinary times, extraordinary. Every prophecy could be fulfilled overnight at this point. And look at who we're battling. We're battling a death cult. We're battling people who are saying, shout your abortion. They cry out for blood. Look at Hamas on the streets of Washington. What are they saying? Kill them. Infidels, kill the Jews.
Welcome to Stakelbeck Tonight. I'm Erick Stakelbeck, and the Middle East is on fire. Now, we've got part one of my exclusive interview with Beck coming up shortly, but first, we need to get you up to speed on some very important developments in the world's most chaotic and pivotal region. Early this morning, in the very heart of Iran's capital, Tehran, the top overall leader for Hamas was killed in a missile strike. Ismail Haniyeh was head of the terror group's so-called political wing. He was in Tehran along with other terrorist leaders to attend the swearing-in ceremony for Iran's new president. Yet just hours after photo ops with Iran's leaders, Haniyeh was killed when a guided missile struck the exact bedroom where he was sleeping. Again, this daring strike happened right under the noses of Iran's regime in their capital. Israeli leaders have been silent about it so far, but folks, it's pretty certain that Israel carried out the strike, which shows that the Jewish state has the capability to eliminate murderous terror leaders anytime and anywhere. And Ismail Haniyeh was quite murderous. Here he is watching the October 7th Hamas massacre of Israelis in real time and celebrating with his Hamas cronies.
سجدة الشكر إن شاء الله على هذا النصر اللهم أتم نصرك وعزتك يا رب لشعبنا وأمتنا الله أكبر.
Folks, Hamas is a demonic death cult, and it just lost one of its very top cult leaders. So did Hezbollah. On Tuesday, hours before Haniyeh was taken out, an Israeli airstrike in Beirut eliminated top Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr. He was the mastermind behind last weekend's rocket attack on a soccer field in northern Israel that killed 12 children. Shukr was also wanted by the United States for his role in the 1983 Beirut bombing that left 243 brave U.S. Marines dead. This was an evil man, as was Ismail Haniyeh. Justice was served. And now Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas are all vowing revenge. The Middle East stands on the brink of an all-out war. Please continue to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. My exclusive interview with Beck starts now. It sounds like a plot from a James Bond movie, an international conspiracy of governments, corporations, and powerful elites, closed-door meetings at exclusive European resorts, and calls for radical change, for a one-world government, a cashless society, and the end of private ownership. It's called the Great Reset, and while it sounds like it was hatched by a group of Bond villains, it's a very real agenda being pursued right now by some very influential people who crave power and control. Over the next 2 nights, we'll be joined by my good friend Beck, founder of The Blaze, best-selling author, political commentator, and top talk radio host, to break down who is behind this sinister agenda. Glenn has written 2 best-selling books about the Great Reset and why it matters to you. And remember, it's not a conspiracy theory if the people behind it are saying out loud what they intend to do. Part 1 of my exclusive interview with Beck starts now. Glenn, great to see you as always. Hey, we've got a lot to unpack for such a time as this. We want to talk about the Great Reset, that shadowy plan, and much more. But Glenn, quick question to start with, and kind of getting right to the point here. I can't believe I'm even saying it in a sense, but did we just witness a coup at the top of the American political chain, with Joe Biden being ushered aside and Kamala Harris basically being anointed as the Democrat nominee?
Let me answer it this way. If we were watching the former Soviet Union and we saw that they were having elections and the 2 presidential candidates were debating and one of them just got lost, couldn't speak, was clearly not in control of his faculties. And then a few days later, they're calling for his resignation. And a few days later, the main opposition, who they had been trying to put in jail, was shot. Then, all of a sudden, the president that we just saw disappears because he's got a bad cold. Then he comes back on the scene only to issue a memo, not on the regular stationery, just on his private stationery with a signature that doesn't really look like his, but is. And he says, I'm withdrawing and I endorse this person. And that person is the one the state wanted, but is incompetent. And you had nothing to do, the Russian people, with selecting that person. If that was the Soviet Union, what would you think just happened?
Yeah.
Why do we accept this as, oh no, this is just par for the course? This has never happened in American history.
Yeah.
Never.
And why aren't more people alarmed? Glenn, it seems like more people, and certainly more Democrats, should be absolutely alarmed by this. And yet there's not really a lot of outrage.
So we should be alarmed at a couple of things. First of all, I found the debate terrifying because I watched it as Vladimir Putin or President Xi in China. I watched it as an enemy. They're weak. That's what predators look for in an animal they want to eat. And these other countries want to eat us and destroy us. We are horribly weak. If you've read Annie Jacobson's new book, Nuclear War, if you haven't, you should. It's terrifying. We are at a time now where we are talking about nuclear weapons being unleashed, possibly, with a guy who could never decide in 6 minutes. He's gone. He's gone. It's, I wouldn't let him drive my car if he was my grandfather, okay? I wouldn't let him make a decision on anything if he were my grandfather. I want to sell my house. Well, hang on, Grandpa, let's talk about that. Let me go with you, okay? That is who he is now, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just have to face that. But he's the guy running the country. That should terrify every single American. Yeah. The second thing that should bother Democrats is this is not the process. They lied to you about his health and said it's a conspiracy to think that he is senile. You are an ageist. You're a hate monger, whatever. And they were saying it just before the debate. Then he debates, and all of a sudden, overnight, the media changes. Oh no, he's got to go. He's got to go. And not because we need him out of the Oval Office because he's not capable of making the decisions for the free world, but because he would lose to Donald Trump. Yes. That's the worst reason I've ever heard. So they replace him. They replace him through a system that no votes were cast. The same people who lied to you wouldn't allow the Democrats to have an actual primary where people in the country wanted another president. They knew, the people knew, but the party said, nope, he's fine, we're moving on. I don't know, Eric, what it's going to take to wake people up, but you better wake up soon.
But you hit on a very key point, I think. We have a gathering storm against America right now. You mentioned Russia, China, we've got Iran, we've got North Korea. Joe Biden has roughly 5-6 months still in office. This seems to be, as China is bearing down on Taiwan, as Russia's making moves, as Iran is sparking a major regional war, this seems to be a very dangerous time this next half year or so, and we've got incapacitated leadership. The wolves are at the gates.
What's broken with our society is we no longer have faith in God. We no longer fear the consequences of our own actions. God's not going to punish us. He's going to let us feel the full ramifications of our choices. And he can't help us if we don't ask and deserve his help. We haven't chased him out of the public square. We've tied God to a post in the public square where we mock him every day. Fear for your country, fear for everyone's safety, because God will not be mocked. And I have to tell you, There is one group of people that could change everything overnight. Christians. Christians could change the election, and a powerful, powerful change. It would be a sweep if Christians actually understood your right to religion, freedom of expression, your right to raise your children. All of that is at stake. And this is the last time you'll have the ability to go and vote for it. When Franklin said, "What have you given us, Mr. Franklin? We gave you a republic if you can keep it." What he was saying there is, it's your responsibility. You have to be informed. You have to pay attention. You have to talk to your friends. Everything in this society is trying to isolate you, make you feel so small, make you feel the exact opposite of what the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob built you to understand. You have power. Use your voice. Speak up. Stand up. Don't fear anything.
This is literally a spiritual battle being waged for the very soul of our country right now. Do you feel that? I mean, I can just sense it. You can feel it in everyday life. It's all around you. It's a battle behind the scenes.
12 years ago, you were with me in Israel, and we spent time in Israel, and you could feel it then. If you can't feel it now, you might want to have a spiritual checkup. But if you haven't at least considered that we're living in the end times, and how much oil do I have in my lamp? You're going to be wildly surprised. I hope I'm surprised and he doesn't come back and we fix this. But we are living in extraordinary times, extraordinary. Every prophecy could be fulfilled overnight at this point. And look at who we're battling. We're battling a death cult. We're battling people who are saying, shout your abortion. They cry out for blood. Look at Hamas on the streets of Washington. What are they saying? Kill them. Infidels, kill the Jews. It is so easy to spot good versus evil right now. There's no spectators at this point. There's none. You're either on the field because you know what you're fighting, or you're on the field and you have no idea what side you're on.
But you mentioned Israel, great event 12 years ago with you. And Israel now continues in this larger spiritual battle, Glenn, to be sort of the canary in the coal mine. We just saw pro-Hamas, that's really what they are, pro-Hamas mobs burning American flags, chanting genocidal slogans in D.C., in the heart of our nation's capital. Could you talk more about the situation right now for Israel, the first line of defense for Western civilization, in my view, and you see a world in these prophetic times we are living in increasingly aligning against Israel and the Jewish people?
So, Eric, you were with me in Israel, and remember that whole thing was way early. It was way too early. And go back and read my speech that I gave there at the temple stairs. It's prophetic, and I don't take credit for that at all. All God, but it's prophetic. It was written for this time right now. I reread it the other day and I was stunned how it's today. And it was a warning that you have to decide. This isn't just about Israel. This is about America, the world, your soul. Those who will stand with Israel will be blessed. Those who will protect his chosen people will be blessed. And I think we've just kind of made that in like, oh yeah, well, I'll be there because never again is now. And, no, it could get very dangerous for you to stand up. And if you haven't exercised the muscle yet, you're going to be too weak to stand. You've got to start exercising the moral courage muscles that you have in your body. We are clearly battling a death cult in all forms. It is so evil. Even if you look at climate change, they're willing to kill people to save the earth. They say it in their own conferences. We'll have to kill, or we'll have to eliminate probably about 1.2 billion people to be able to right the ship. Excuse me? The vaccine, take it or you're out. Well, I don't know if that vaccine is safe. The Bill Gates, all of this stuff with now cloud seeding to protect, it is a death cult.
Yeah.
If we don't wake up now, Reagan said it, those who have tasted freedom and lost it will never taste it in their lifetime again.
What is, in the barest essence for people watching, this great reset that you and I are talking about, and why is it so dangerous for our way of life?
So it's funny because the Great Reset is such an interesting word, because I have for years said, I feel like America should just call the IT department and just have them say, have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Restore it to factory settings. Get all the garbage that we've added on. Restore it to factory settings. That's not what the Great Reset is from the World Economic Forum. And if you've ever heard the Build Back Better, Green New Deal, all of that, every politician in the last 5 years that has been elected in England, in Japan, in India, in Africa, here in America, used Build Back Better. It is the slogan for the Great Reset. And what the Great Reset is we're going to unplug it, but we're not going to restore it to factory settings. We're going to put new software in and start it up again. Capitalism, gone. Freedom of travel, gone. Freedom of choice, gone. All of these things that, they're doing subtly, like, we're not going to take away your gas stove, but we're going to take away your gas stove eventually. Yeah. All of these things, no more oil and energy. None of this makes any sense at all unless you don't care about the population of humans and you are not looking at the horizon and saying, how do we better people's lives? Just the energy. You take away the energy. We need 3,400% more electricity in the United States for AI by 2030, okay? 3,000% more than we're already generating. When AI is up at the top of the food chain, do you think mom and pop living on Main Street are going to have enough electricity? And then on top of that, we're reducing it. The entire thing is to reset it into a global government where they talk a lot about stakeholder capitalism, where you don't really have a say because you voted for your stakeholder. You voted for your representative. Do you feel like the representatives in Washington represent you and are consulting you on everything they're doing? Because I don't. But that's the only voice you get, the vote. And then that person answers to other stakeholders. The stakeholders, the other ones are the world governments, the community of man in the UN. You have corporations as an equal stakeholder. And all of the stakeholders have to get together and then they decide what's best for you. Yeah. And they've already decided much of it. 15-minute cities, electric cars, no fossil fuels, no meat, all of these things, they're being done. They seem like they're separate arguments, but they're not. It's all fascism, and it's global fascism with the help of AI.
Two things. Number one, you mentioned that slogan, Build Back Better. Here's another one from the Great Reset crowd. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Can you break down, Glenn, some of the people, the elites behind this? I think of Klaus Schwab right away, the World Economic Forum. I think of that shadowy meeting every year in Davos, Switzerland. Can you lay out and break down some of the players pushing this insane and, yes, evil agenda that we should keep an eye on?
So Klaus Schwab does the World Economic Forum, and he sounds and looks like a movie Bond villain.
He does.
He's only a little pussycat away, and he's got a thick German accent, and I believe his father was a Nazi. And he wants to talk about freeing the world, and the way we free the world is through corporations and governments coming together. That's not the way you free the world. That is... Escape from New York, or what was that movie so many years ago with Harrison Ford, where he's showing us the future. Blade Runner.
Oh yeah,
that's the future that they are talking about.
Oh yeah,
where the corporation is God, and just like in China, you are on a point system. Exactly what they're doing in China will be done here as well if they win their way. The scariest guy that most people don't know, but the elites all do, I'll never forget Barack Obama walking out of the White House with one of Yuval Noah Harari's books.
Yes.
And always being seen with it. Every summer he'd walk out with another one of his books, and all the elites loved him. And you'd see Bill Clinton reading one of his books. This guy is as insane as any of the Nazi planners. He talks about in one of his books about useless people. And he talks about a time soon where people are going to need to be drugged or online all the time just to keep them quiet, because they're going to be useless, because computers and AI will be able to do everything for us, and they're going to get in the way. And so he's now talking about a good percentage of the world population being useless. Well, I mean, that's one way to get rid of them, is to put them on drugs and keep them hooked online. That's his actual plan. The other is just don't feed them. They'll off themselves eventually, and the rest of them you can round up, or we don't provide health care for those people. It is absolutely Malthusian. And as scary as anything that I ever saw coming from the Nazis. It's the same kinds of philosophies as the Nazis had, except they didn't have the technology. These people do. And they see a world run by elites for the elites, and then the other people who just don't get it. Yeah. Let them eat crickets. When he says you will own nothing, my first thought on that was, now this is 5 years ago, when they said you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. The way they laid it out was, this is everything is free now, utopia. And you don't own anything. Well, my first question was, then you're renting it from someone who does own everything. And then my next thought was, how do you get a country that was built on ownership, that is part of our identity, is being able to own and carve your own path? How do you get them to be happy and not own everything? And how do you get them to sell their stuff? We're seeing it now. They are crippling people. As people are struggling to find a house to buy, what is the elite doing? BlackRock is going in and buying up entire neighborhoods. If you're fine with all of this and you serve them for a while, you'll be okay for a while. But just like Joe Biden, the minute you are not part of it or you're a problem, you're gone.
Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.